Ukraine no toward becoming a member of NATO, however alliance still has Kyiv's back. On the same day 5 years ago, then US President Donald Trump, in a speech in Helsinki, told the world that he would trust the Vladimir Putin he met, not the national intelligence weaknesses. Before going to the meeting, he said that he thought it would be easier to meet with Putin with his NATO allies. After the meeting, this week in the same city on the phone number, he announced that a new era has begun in relations with Moscow, and the difference could not be greater. President Joe Biden couldn't help but attack the Russian leader 500 days after his troops attacked Ukraine instead. All things considered, it seems highly unlikely that Trump is still the leading contender for the Republican White House nomination. The NATO meeting was called to show that the alliance is stronger than ever, and Moscow's desire to grow crops from war is another major mistake of judgment. Biden is against giving any support to Ukraine. Must balance the risk of World War II. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made an angry tirade on social media, and there may be some sympathy for him. The sacrifice and incredible courage of his people to stand up to Putin's brutality is more than worth it. He used the word reckless in response to his failure to provide his country with a clear path to NATO membership. If anything, stop it. But it is known that such an option will not be on the table. It is natural to express disappointment, but realpolitik suggests that continuing will only make the situation worse. The White House has decided that it cannot allow Ukraine to join NATO during a large-scale war. If Ukraine suddenly joins the alliance, all NATO countries will be in trouble. In its current form, the war directly led to the expansion of NATO's operations on its eastern border. Although Zelensky didn't get everything he wanted, he got a guarantee of political support and, more importantly, more weapons. Kyiv has every reason to make sure the conference confirms its commitment to do whatever it takes to ensure Ukraine's victory. Mr. Biden went so far as to declare Putin defeated. However, this does not mean that the war is over. Before the meeting, Polish President Andrzej Duda said that Western governments raised Ukraine's expectations. Polish President Andrzej Duda pressed for faster and more support for Ukraine. Still, he said the final result definitely brings Ukraine closer to NATO. Kyiv is understandably dissatisfied with the long-standing uncertainty surrounding its competition. This will be some relief, but it's a fair sign that his future and his people should belong to the Euro-Atlantic family. Ukraine's future is in NATO, but NATO leaders disappointed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the first day of the Vilnius conference, saying only a member state and conditions are met, military alliance will send invitation to Kyiv, Lithuania. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said at a press conference on July 11 that NATO is sending an unprecedentedly powerful message, both in terms of its membership policy and the support of its NATO allies. Stoltenberg told reporters that Ukraine is getting closer to joining NATO, in part because it has used a lot of military equipment and training from NATO members to help Kyiv against the Russian army since February 2022. Stoltenberg said that, as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, the development led to an unprecedented abandonment of Ukraine's needs in the member state program MAP, with a clear term for full integration, or at least an invitation to start accession negotiations. Document stated that NATO leaders see that the road to full Euro-Atlantic integration of Ukraine passes through the need for map. Document. Added, allies agree terms once fulfilled, we will be able to extend the invitation to Ukraine to join the group, without going into details. Zelensky complained of vaguely worded conditions when inviting Ukraine before the manifesto. There would be no invitation of Ukraine to NATO and he doesn't join the organization, he added. However, Stoltenberg said at a press conference that there is no timetable for joining NATO. They depend on the situation and they always have, he said. The Ukrainian leader said that the confusion only served Russia's benefit and promised to raise the issue himself at the meeting. For Russia, this means that the trend of fear continues. Uncertainty is weakness. I will talk about it openly at the meeting, he said. After confirming that he would meet with U.S. President Joe Biden on the sidelines of the July 12 meeting. I came here today with confidence in the decision, our partners, the strength of NATO. I want this belief to be true. I want the needs of all of us and all our soldiers, all our citizens, all our mothers, all our children to be the truth of the decision they deserve. Is this desire too big? And said, the Russian Federation is the most important and now contributes to the stability of its friends and to peace and stability in Russia. The Euro-Atlantic region is under threat. He blew up the meeting. NATO leaders see Russia as an enemy, an enemy. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said at a press conference in Moscow that the talks in Vilnius will take place in this spirit. We are watching this very carefully because most of the comments will be reviewed. Section. Another. Missiles for Ukraine that can protect Kyiv. Defend its territory, he said without providing additional information on the number or type of missiles. In pictures, Kyiv soldiers used captured Russian TOS-1A Solntsepyok, Scorching Sun, heavy thermobaric rocket launchers to destroy frontline Moscow forces near Kreminna on the eastern side of Ukraine, as the Ukrainian counteroffensive continued. A French military source speaking on condition of anonymity told reporters in Vilnius that Paris has already started sending several Scalp submarines to Ukraine. Scalp is the French name for a long-range missile jointly developed by France and the United Kingdom, known in the United Kingdom as Storm Shadow. Sources say the Scalp has a range of 250 kilometers, will only be used within the internationally recognized borders of Ukraine and will be launched by non-Western aircraft. The UK has sent a large number of Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine since May. Meanwhile, the German Ministry of Defense said on July 11 that Germany would provide armored vehicles and ammunition worth €700 million, $768 million, to Ukraine. Hours before the meeting, Russia announced another attack on Kyiv and Odessa, the second this month. According to the initial assessment, the attack was mostly carried out by the Ukrainian air defense and caused only minor damage around Kyiv. The head of the military administration of the Ukrainian capital, Sergei Popko, said in Telegram, "Our air defense destroyed the entire planned air movement in the direction of Kyiv." Two unmanned aerial vehicles collided in the Black Sea city of Odessa. Regional Governor Ole Kipper said on Telegram that the administration's house in the port and a grain terminal caught fire, but it was quickly extinguished without causing major damage or injury. Separately, Ukraine's air defense said it had destroyed 26 of the 28 Iranian-made Shahd drones launched by Russia.